What's up, everybody? John Bush from Armored Saint, and you are cranking it up here on Sonic Perspectives.
Hello, everyone. It's Rodrigo here bringing you another interview for Sonic Perspectives. We're going to talk today with one of my all time favorite singers, Mr. John Bush of Armored Saint.
Yeah,
John,
yeah. What's
great to
happening?
have you here with us.
What's up, Rodrigo? How are you, sir?
Good, I'm good, man. It's an exciting time for us Armored Saint fans with the new album Punch in the Sky, set for release in October. Give us an overview of the album if you can.
Well, it's our first album in 5 years. We try to get records out sooner if we can, but
Yeah.
we just kind of work at our own pace, and sometimes that pace is a little slower. But in the end, I always say it's about the quality of the music and not really the quantity. Of course, I have to say that because we work a little slow, but we're proud of this record. We think it's a nice stepping stone from When Hands Down, which was a nice stepping stone from La Raza. So the goal is to always just to continue to progress, and I
Mhm.
think we do that pretty well. This record has a lot of diversity, but it has some hard hitting tracks as well, and a lot of cool production that's going on, courtesy of Joey, and then on to Jay Rustin who mixed it. Um, Great guitar orchestrations, a lot of cool vocal things that are going on, especially in the background vocals. Um, you know, uh, I think cool current themes that are going on, certainly in the world lyrically, as well as some more introspective stuff. So I think it's something that fans should take and really appreciate.
Yeah. And I spoke with you in 2018, just before your show here in Toronto, when you did the Symbol of Salvation in full. At that time, you already had songs written, but I guess there were a lot of stops and starts in the writing, but that didn't hurt the end result, which sounds very cohesively, right? Very
Great.
cohesive.
Well,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. I mean, we did that. We did have a little break in the writing process because you pointed that out that we were already
Hmm.
writing, and then we did the symbol thing, which was really fun, and we had a great
Yeah.
time doing that. And that probably inspired us in some subliminal way or something because I couldn't tell you exactly how, but
Hmm.
just by playing a record in its entirety, especially that one, which is kind of a key album for us, and it's a pretty diverse record as well. You have songs like Tribal Dance and Rain of Fire, but then you have Another Day and Tainted Past. So it's a pretty diverse album. And so this record kind of continues on that. Like I said, it's probably maybe we're a little too meticulous. Joey in particular, who's kind of the guy who is the MC of it all.
Hmm.
But it's like I said, when I'm dead in the grave and it's all over, I just want people to look back on the quality of the music, and I don't need to necessarily have 20 records in Armored Saints past and have people say, oh, well, 10 of them are crap. I don't. That's
Hmm.
It's more about the quality of it.
Yeah, I understand. But when it comes to albums like that, which are written in a longer period of time, how do you know when to draw the line and say, okay, it's done?
Well, that's a good question. You don't want to not to bust, Axel's chops, but you don't want to have a Chinese democracy that goes on and
Yeah.
on and on. You do need to let go. You need to cut loose. Maybe it's a little bit like letting your kid go, to college or something. You just
Yeah.
need to let go at some point because otherwise, then you start becoming somebody who's overthinking everything, and that's just going to probably end up being detrimental too. So, I really believe that it kind of reveals itself when it's done.
Hmm.
You're like, all right, that's the same thing with a song. You can write a song. I mean, the simplistic aspect of a song is really the best part of it in terms of focusing on a really good verse, a really good chorus, and then you can mess around with different arrangements and how you do that. But really, you're just trying to get to kind of the roots of a good song, and when that's good. And the
Yeah.
same thing with a record. I think when it's done. I mean, you could probably overthink it in the mixing process, and that could prolong. Luckily, Jay pretty much doesn't want us to be there at the studio when he's doing
Uh-huh.
it. He's made that quite clear, which is fine because that's his time to shine. And he does an incredible job. So it's kind of hard to say that's not right or that's not right. You
Mm.
may have like some volume that like a part you want a little louder, a little softer, a little more prominent. But in the end, I mean, the job he does is just incredible, and we're grateful to work with him.
Awesome. The first thing that caught my attention was actually the title, Punch in the Sky, which is actually the first sentence on the first
Correct.
song,
Yeah.
right? I know you like to leave things for interpretation, but what did you actually mean with Punch in the Sky every day, standing on the shoulder of giants? What is that song about?
Well, um, I'm a big sports fan. Um, I think when people win, when they're victorious, you see that a lot. And you
Yeah.
just and it's really is something as simple as that. It's kind of a feeling of being victorious and just kind of raising your arm and in conjunction with that. The title was something that I'd written down. I read somewhere. It was a quote, I think, by Isaac Newton, and it's. I thought it was how it related to me, at least in Armored Saint, and the song in particular um, is that you you surround yourself with people who make you better. That's a
Mm,
really important thing to kind of uh, analyze at this point, because I think there's probably a lot of people who are bringing other people down at this point. There's obviously people who are raising a lot of people up in this kind of turbulent time we're living in, but um, if you're surrounding yourself with people that you believe in and that you think are giants in the sense they inspire you, then if you get on their shoulders, think about how high you are there. So it's
yeah.
like you're even higher, and you're able to kind of scan the landscape around you and say, this is where I want to go. This is what I want to do. And, it's kind of metaphoric. And at the same time, it's kind of visual in the sense that you're standing high and you're seeing everything around you. And, there's nothing more majestic than being like on a mountain and seeing an amazing
Yeah.
view. It's kind of
Yeah.
like equivalent to that.
Really cool. And well, there's a great use of Uilleann Pipes on that first track, which gives it a mystic feel, right? Where did that come from?
It was an idea that Joey had. He had recorded some bagpipe stuff just on his keyboard as an intro, just to kind of set the tone for that record. And then
Uh-huh.
it always sounded so amazing. So we said, well, let's find somebody who actually could do it. And he did. And it is when you hear that instrument, it just kind of, it creates a certain feeling. It's
Oh
undeniable when
yeah.
you hear that. And so it really kind of sets the tone for this kind of this future of what's coming. And then the intro is great to that song because it starts off slow, but there's a big strong build. The riff is powerful and super strong, and then goes into the song and into the groove. So it's a great track to open the record. Yeah, at first I was almost reluctant when Joey suggested it because it's just the longest song on the record,
Yeah.
and we were trying to actually write shorter songs on this album,
Mhm.
so it seemed kind of funny that we were going to start the album with the longest song on the album, but it just felt like the right song to open it.
Right. And the first single, "End of the Attention Span," is a little bit more direct in meaning. Is this something that worries you in any way, like people not being able to maintain their attention, or?
Well, it worries me about myself, actually. I'm pretty bad at it. You could ask my
Yeah.
wife, and she'd be the first one to say, "You're terrible." I'll be on the phone texting a friend, and she'll call me John, John, John. And I'm all startled. I was focused. Yeah, I see that.
Mm,
Um, I mean, I certainly get concerned about the future, especially when I see my kids and the slight dependency that they have with these things that we're talking on. And believe me,
yeah.
I've said in numerous interviews that I've been doing for this record that there are pros and cons to technology. I'm not here to just say resist it. I'm not that person, but because here we are having this conversation on a video, which if we were doing this 40 years ago, it would be like outer space stuff, right?
Yeah.
But we do it, we don't even think about it. Just, Skype me and there we are, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. So there are some really cool aspects of technology, and I'm happy about that in myself. But at the same time, I think that when we have this dependency on computers and technology and in terms of smartphones and really all the things that they start doing almost for us, they almost start living for us. It's weird. Um, I think that it could be detrimental,
Yeah.
and I see that again for the future generations.
Yeah.
So, and the song is heavy. It's a deep topic, but at the same time, we go into the second verse of it, and I start kind of poking fun at people watching shows with their phones, and there's a little bit of sarcasm there. And ball busting, which is meant to be taken a little bit light at the same time. So it's not too intense of a topic, um, but yet it is. So yeah, we'll see how this plays out. I mean, I can't imagine how technology will be 30 years from now.
Yeah.
Honestly, it's actually a little daunting. So.
It is absolutely, yeah. And musically, I think the album falls on that sweet spot between thrashy and melodic. And this is something that hurt you guys from a commercial standpoint in the beginning of the band, right? Where you were either in the hard rock side or on the thrash side, and it was hard to progress in the beginning of the band, right? But now I think it works in your favor
Well,
to some extent.
I make the joke that we probably had a bit of an identity crisis, and that was way too young to be having that. We were in our 20s, and you want that to start coming in when you're like you're my age now, and that's when you
Yeah.
kind of have the midlife crisis. You don't want it in your 20s, but we I think we were always just trying to follow our own path. So
Hmm.
even in the 80s, we like writing heavy, fast songs, but then we also like writing some bluesy songs and some kind of ballad type stuff. So we wanted to do it, and we didn't want to feel like, well, we can't do that because that's going to be something that people misinterpret as to what our style is. We didn't really
Yeah.
think about it, so we did kind of do those things, and sometimes to the detriment of not falling into the the proper genres that were happening at the time, and it was
Yeah.
frustrating. But in the end, I think we just really our goal was to just be the best band we could be and be our own trip. That's really
Yeah.
what we were striving to do. It took a while to kind of find that, and now I think we have found that perfectly, um, and now we're just kind of trying to make it the best that we can do. We can be with that particular confidence and just
Yeah.
knowing, hey, if there's a certain thing we want to do, we'll do it. If it sounds bluesy, if it sounds soulful, if it sounds slow and moody, if it's just hitting you on the head of it like a hammer, if it's ambient, whatever. If it's sounds like something that is just like an old R&B tune, it doesn't matter. We're trying to go with what the song is pushing us and telling us to do.
Uh-huh. I never understood that divide, by the way. I'm a kid of the 80s, as you can see, but yeah, I mean, why couldn't you like Kiss and Motorhead at the same time? There was this division at the time. It's strange, but
Yeah, well, it's just peer groups probably more than anything. If you were a
yeah.
fan of Anthrax and Slayer, you probably weren't into Poison and Warrant, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, and vice versa. Um, or maybe you were secretly, but you just didn't tell anybody, right? Um, wait, dude, you're at this show? What are you doing at Warrant? Well, what are you doing here? So I
Exactly.
don't know, it's kind of funny, but I mean, it's music, man. You should like everything. I mean, at least
Yeah.
as long as you like it and as long as you think it's good, it really doesn't matter. I'm sure there's stuff in my catalog that people would be shocked to know it's in there. I mean, at one point I was into like Two Unlimited because probably
Mm.
because I saw the videos when I was on tour with Anthrax in Europe, and I was like, this band's cool. Listen to the energy, and they'd be like, this is terrible. What do you like this for? I'm like, I don't know, but I like it. So I mean, again, you can. It's music. You should like whatever you like, and actually find inspiration in it.
Yeah. And there's a few special guests on the album. Let me start by asking you about Dizzy Reed from Guns N' Roses and Hookers and Blow, of course. How did he get involved and what did he bring to the table?
Well, Dizzy's Jeff actually is a good friend with Dizzy, and he's actually done some recording and also live performances with Dizzy. So he suggested that, or maybe it was Joey's idea that came from he knowing that Dizzy and Jeff were buddies. But obviously amazing keyboard player, and it was an honor to have him on the record. I haven't met him personally, but I'm sure
Mm.
he's a great guy, and he's super talented, and obviously has a name. So it was cool to have him on there. And once again, just adds a different element on the tracks he played, bringing keyboards. It's the kind of thing that maybe back in the '80s it would be something we'd be reluctant to do, but we
Yeah.
don't want to do that anymore. We'd be like, oh well, who's going to play the keyboards live? And I was like, well, who cares? Don't worry about it. Like
Yeah.
just put it on. It's a record, so you want the record to have
Sound a
everything
certain
in it
way, right? Yeah.
exactly, and
Yeah.
and not be concerned with not putting something on because you don't know how you're going to reproduce it. So
Yeah.
it was great to have him perform on the record.
Yeah. And tell me about the marching snare on Do Wrong to None, which is a really cool way to start the song. And I think it was done by the son of a friend of the band, right?
Yeah, our friend is a buddy of ours who we've known for years. His name's Jacob Ayala. He's actually an amazing drummer himself.
Mm.
It was his son Jake who played in the marching band at his high school. And he's obviously a very good drummer himself. Chip off the old block there. It was another idea of putting him in the studio with Gonzo and just recording a bunch of different versions of that intro. So it was really
Yeah.
cool. Again, it sets a nice tone for that song. It actually is right after the crazy sounding animal that either Joey or Gonzo, one of them, recorded when we were on tour in Italy, and there was something out in the creek, but we don't know what animal it was, but it sounded pretty weird, and so they recorded it, and then we put that as the intro, and then the intro to follow that, and then the song began. So those are the kind of things that kind of sets a nice uh, pace, as well as creates a cool aura for what you're about to hear.
Yeah. And something else that's quite unique on the same topic, of course, is the use of a flute on Never You Fret, which is the last song.
Right.
Who came up with that idea?
Well, we did have a kind of weird intro again on the demo that Joey recorded, and then
Uh,
Gonzo said, "I can play this instrument. Can I want to do the intro?" So we're like, "Yeah, do it. It sounds awesome." Again,
uh,
that's this cool tone. You don't really think that song is about to. Oh, sorry, I lost you. Hold on, bear with me. There you are. Um,
yeah.
you don't really think when you hear that intro. I don't think that you think the next thing you're going to hear is this explosive, powerful track, but you do, and so it's
Yeah.
really cool. And Gonzo did a great job with it. He was adamant about everyone knowing that he played it, which is hilarious. But whatever. He did a great job, and the world should know he played it. And it was
Yeah.
a cool intro, and it's the last song on the record, and that song in particular has kind of of lyrically, it's a little bit more kind of follows in the footsteps of the song Underdogs that came out in Raising Fear, uh,
Mm.
album '87. It was kind of just uh, paying tribute to ourselves and saying, hey, no matter what happens when we perform, we're gonna deliver and bring the house down. So that's kind of the premise of that song. And
One thing that's a constant in all Armored Saint albums is the great attention to the choruses. And this time it's no different, of course. And since this is like your time to shine when you do the chorus and stand out, are you usually involved in that part of the equation or?
well, I mean, we love good songs. It's something that probably was instilled in us when we were kids, listening to everything from the Sweet to Elton John to uh, Earth, Wind and Fire and Commodores to
Mm.
Kiss and Sabbath and eventually Iron Maiden. You wanted a great song. I mean, that's really what it comes right down to. And you're right, the best song you can make, and there's nothing better than a bunch of people singing your song, and the chorus is usually the part that everybody collectively sings if they know it
Yeah.
well, and if it is a good part. So we're no different. We want a big strong song. That's what we grew up on, and that's what we want to pass on down to our fans. So
Yeah.
it shows it. It's funny. We I think in our early days we used to think, okay, this is a great song, and we would have people like at the record company, not Brian per se, but at Chrysalis and some of the execs, they'd be like, "Well, it's just all about a great song." And I remember being super rebellious to that and going, "Well, what do you mean? This is a great song. What are you talking about? Of course, it's a great song. What do you think? We want to write crappy songs?" So, but in the end, I think that you eventually you start to realize what is really a great song. Doesn't always necessarily mean that the chorus has to be this big anthem,
Mm,
sing along per se, because like a song like Never You Fret isn't really like that. That chorus is just more of like a part. Still, I think a great chorus, but um, it's just different than it would be, say, like End of the Attention Span, which is a big chorus.
yeah.
So you could do different things, and whatever the song really is kind of asking for. You know, if it's looking for a big chorus sing along kind of thing, great. If it's more of just a sing part with just my voice, that's great too. But in the end, sure, you want the best chorus you can possibly write.
Mm, absolutely. And I like the thing that caught my attention the most is how balanced the album is. You have like fast-paced numbers like Missile the Gun, but also the slow numbers like Unfair. Is this something you strive for, like adding a little bit of light and shade and structuring the track list in such a way, or?
Yeah, again, it goes back to wanting to make a diverse album. We it's what we want to do, right? Because I guess we feel like we can do it. We
Hmm.
don't want to look. I mean, I love metal. I love being a metal band. I love being a hard rock band. I honor our heritage and our legacy, and it shaped my life, quite frankly. But I don't think that we want to be pigeonholed by that at the same time. We want to be
Yeah.
able to say we can do whatever we want. I think we're our best critics. We If there was something that we were trying to do and it just wasn't working, or if it was too outside the box, I think we'd rein ourselves in. But in the end, we by having this broad state of mind of wanting to make a diverse album, at least in the mindset before you even go in, it,
Hmm.
it helps you expand on stuff. And I think we can do it. I think Armored Saint is the kind of band that we can write a lot of different types of tunes, bluesy. Like I said, hit your head on the hit you over the head with a hammer type tracks. Ballady, kind of epic crescendo type endings. Um, it just doesn't matter. At this point we think we can do anything. So maybe that's uh, a little unrealistic, but I think we strive to do it, and
Uh,
I want to keep doing that. It's fun.
yeah. And the album has so many versions as well. I think there's like 7 or 8 different vinyl options, different colors and everything. It's amazing.
Well, that Metal Blade does a spectacular job of putting things out and giving fans different things to choose from, and they're just a
Yeah.
great label. And and you want, I love that stuff because obviously I'm a guy from the '70s and '80s, and I still love vinyl, and that's how I like to listen to music. Sometimes I don't always have that option because you can't always buy stuff on vinyl these days, but
Yeah.
I still buy CDs and I listen to them in my car. And I want to listen to a record in its entirety because I think that's what an artist is intending for you to do, and not just listen to one song. Again, whatever people want to do, if they choose to get music however they want, that's up to them. But just get it, listen to it, check it out.
Yeah. And the last time we spoke in 2018, there were talks about a DVD of the Symbol of Salvation in full. Is that
Right.
still in the cards or?
That is in the cards. We need to get
Mm,
back to that. We recorded a bunch of shows and we filmed a bunch of gigs.
okay.
We just have to basically kind of scrutinize them all, listen to them all, find the right performances because we filmed a bunch of shows and we did audio on everything, including the shows in Europe.
Hmm.
So we just have to kind of do it, and I think Joey was painstakingly going over that stuff.
Hmm.
Um, and we didn't not we filmed it for a reason, and that's to release it. So maybe we can get that out next year. Um, Obviously, once we finished that tour, we went back into the mindset that we were preparing to make a record.
Hmm.
So and writing a record. So we kind of put everything into this. So we put that on the back burner, but we will definitely get around to it, and hopefully it'll come out next year.
Awesome. And another thing we discussed then was I asked you about writing a book with all your stories of the road and everything. You
Wow.
said there was a chance of doing a documentary about the story of the
Yeah.
band. Any
Right.
news on that
Yeah, we
or on the
still
book?
no, that's still happening. The guy who's putting it all together and directing his name is Russell Charrington. He's a friend of ours from Britain, and he's done a great job. He's interviewed a lot of different people for it, which is really cool. He's got some people that I was even surprised he was able to get, like Cliff Bernstein and a couple of the guys in Metallica. So it's a great thing. I think the story is great. The Armored Saint story. Obviously, I'm a little biased, but
Mm,
um, it gives a lot of interesting aspects of it. So he's just sometimes the going through the process of editing things and finding photos and videos. It's just a time consuming process. So I think he's just in the midst of doing that, as well as probably doing other things in his life, because it's not like he's, the Armored Saint budget for the documentary is, $10 million, and he can put everything on the back burner.
Yeah.
He's doing it in other things in conjunction with his life. So
Mm.
he's trying to find a way to make it happen. But I think it'll be really cool when it's done.
Okay. And let me ask you one more thing. In parallel with your career, you established a voiceover business. Can you tell me how that came together?
It came together by wanting to use my voice in a different way than other than just singing.
Mm.
I met a really great friend who's still a friend of mine, who was an agent at the time. Her name was Jackie Martinoski. She's probably one of the biggest supporters of John Bush in the world. And even though we don't see each other that often or talk that often, she she's just a big fan of mine as a person, which I'm always grateful for. And she brought me into this world. Of course, it was my wife too, because my wife is a casting director. And so when I suggested that and maybe this is something I could pursue, she helped me with that, and then that led to Jackie. So my wife is actually the major catalyst behind it. But
Okay.
um, it's a competitive business. I love doing it. I've done a bunch of things, but it's competitive. So you're fighting with all these other voiceover artists, as well as a lot of just big time actors who got into
Yeah.
voiceover, and they've kind of taken over a lot of the jobs. But little things like I just did the thing for the band Night Demon and their podcast, and they hired me, and it was really fun to do that, and it sounded great. So
Mm.
and I did some of Brian Slagle's audio book, which was really cool. And it was a challenge to say the names of guys from Amon and Marth correctly without butchering their names. I was like, whoa, how do you pronounce this? But in the end, anything associated with doing VL, whether it's a big commercial or something smaller, is fun, and it's a challenge, and I dig it. I just wish it was a little less competitive, actually. But hey, that's life.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much, man. And thank you for Punching the Sky, which is an amazing record.
I want to get to Toronto. I'd like to get there in the winter so I can go to a Leafs game. That'd be amazing.
Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Thanks. Okay, everyone. Thank you for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this interview with John Bush. You can listen to it also on iTunes, Stitcher, Google Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. Also, please follow us on Twitter and Facebook and subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to finish now with the song End of the Attention Span from Armored Saint's new album, Punch in the Sky. Take care and rock on. Cheers, man.
Yeah.
Thank you. Take care.
All right.
Bye.
Thanks, Rodrigo. Have a great day, buddy.
You
Be
too,
safe.
man.